It's hard to predict how this will shake out, but it's looking increasingly like the goal for the US is to reorient global trade away from China. Trump recently paused tariffs that he had placed on other countries for 90 days, but upped the tariffs on China.
I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
Most recently, China put an additional 84% tariff on US goods, which is the same level that Trump recently put on Chinese goods. But Trump just raised that to 125%. Well, earlier this year, when tariffs were at around 20%, Chinese manufacturers had agreed to give some price cuts in some cases to their US buyers. So in that case, if they reduce the price of their goods, that reduces the burden of the cost of extra tariffs from the importer side. But at this point, as I've been talking to Chinese manufacturers along with my colleagues, there is no more room to cut prices. A lot of these manufacturers are working at super thin profit margins. I talked to a hat maker in Guangzhou who sells hats for about $3 each. He makes about 5% profit. So as you can see, there's no more room to discount without operating at a loss. So factory owners tell me they might expect to halt production a little bit, or at least reduce some of the capacity. They might put some of their workers on temporary leave. But in general, people are hopeful that potentially there could be negotiation soon, potentially an agreement, because at these levels, it is truly prohibitive at this point to conduct trade between the US and China. China is a very critical part of global supply chains and the global manufacturing system. Many of the parts come from China that go into producing other goods. Many of the companies that are making goods in other countries are actually Chinese companies. And so if we do intend to have a decoupling between the US and China, this would have massive implications for the entire economy. Trump has many stated goals for his tariffs, such as bringing manufacturing back to the US. But when it comes to China, it's looking like the strategy is going to be trying to work with allies to potentially pressure them to reduce their trade relationships with China. We saw Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent make some comments signaling that the US would like to make agreements with allies, and potentially, if those allies want to negotiate with the US, they shouldn't try to further their relationships with China. Meanwhile, China is trying to court other countries and broaden their trade relationships with them. So right now, it's looking like if you're not the US or China, you are increasingly having to decide which side you're going to align with more. And it's tough to say because the US is one of the biggest consumer markets in the world. China is one of the biggest manufacturing markets in the world. So right now we're gearing up for a showdown between these two superpowers.